leadership starts, I always say that leadership starts at bedside and it starts with the frontline nurses, right? Anytime you're a nurse, you're in, that is where it starts. Well, welcome officially to our panel discussion, the silent strength, the heart of leadership, building impactful nurse leaders by mastering human connectedness. As nurses, I'm sure we all know that we lead with our heads and our hearts, right? But think it through very well. It's the heart that truly sets us apart, isn't it? Let us explore the human side of leadership now. In leadership, as we start as a clinical nurse, clinical expertise does matter and it is the foundation, but it's yet the compassion, the empathy, and the human connection that builds the trust, inspire the teams, and drive the real impact. Being a transformational leader over the years, hospital 20 years now, has taught me all these elements, such as compassion, empathy, and connection, not only unites us, but also yields powerful, measurable results within our teams, ultimately impacting better patient outcomes. Is that what, at the end of the day, that you're looking for? But without forgetting the staff well-being. That is another important point that we remember. So today, we are focusing on those silent strengths, the soft skills that are anything but soft in their power to transform our leaders. Well, in this panel today, we are actually going to self-introduce ourselves. So starting with me, we are panel of 5. I'm Uma Venugopal, and I'm honored to moderate this conversation today with our incredible panel of nurse leaders who brings years of experience, wisdom, and humanity to their roles as chief nursing officers, as vice president, and other leadership roles. Thank you for being here. So we will get started by starting with me, I guess, as a moderator. So as you know, I'm Uma Venugopal, the 10th National Association of Indian Nurses of America's president for the term 2025-2026. It's an honor that they actually included me this time, so thank you. And I work in academia. I'm a nurse faculty for graduate and undergraduate programs, and along with that, I also work as a drug diversion lead, as a part of risk management in an acute care facility. So that's my role. Along with that, I was also the previous past president of the American Association of Indian Nurses of New Jersey. And thank you, Jersey. And which I should say that was my New Jersey was my home, of course, was my home. And I can't thank enough to my New Jersey fellow peers and the leaders and the mentors from New Jersey who are here still supporting me and mentoring me. So thank you. Thank you so much. With over 25 plus years of leadership experience, my heart is actually in leadership and education. So as being a transformational leader, I am here to lead this panel along with my fellow peers. Let's move on to Dr. Shiloh Ocean, who is our first panelist for the day that is going to introduce.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Shiloh Ocean. I'm an adult, certified adult nurse practitioner, currently serving as the Chief Nursing Officer of New York State Office of Mental Health, South Beach Psychiatric Center in New York. As a Chief Nursing Officer, I strive to exemplify authentic leadership by promoting collaboration, fostering a healthy work environment, and enhancing the overall staff experience. I am also a character coach and the current president of the Indian Nurses Association of New York. I have been a nurse for over 30 years with diverse experience in leadership, medical practice, and education. Thank you.
All right, moving on to next, Dr. Annie Abraham from Illinois.
Thank you. Good evening. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Annie Abraham. I am currently my role as a vice president of patient care services at Rush University Medical Center in Chicago. I'm also a nurse leader with progressive leadership experience up until
Thank you, Dr. Annie. And let's move on to Dr. Simi Joseph from Illinois.
Good evening, everyone. So as I said, I'm Dr. Simi Joseph. I'm the Indian Nurse Association of Illinois current president. As professionally, I'm the senior director of system organization at Chicago, Chicago Family Health. I oversee nursing and business practice, research, and innovation in my role. And I've been a nurse for 27 years. I've been a nurse practitioner in gastroenterology for 17 years, and I'm also in the leadership operational leadership for 10 years. So my passion is definitely advancing nursing excellence in many directions, especially program development, and workforce transformation, and operational leadership is my passion. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, the brain of this panel, Dr. Jency Anthony from Virginia.
Hi, my name is Jency Anthony. I work as a Chief Nursing Officer at Hiram Davis Medical Center, which is one of 12 DEHDS facilities. I have held positions of the Chief Informatics Officer, Chief Health Informatics Analyst, and have more than 20 years in nursing management and leadership. I believe in the voice of nursing, and I believe that we are the capacity and the future to transform healthcare. Thank you for this opportunity.
So let's give a warm welcome to all our panelists and head into the session with no further delay and dive into how nurse leaders can lead with heart, connect deeply, and build stronger and more resilient teams. So we're going to take you through this wonderful journey, so be prepared for that. And the first question goes to Dr. Shada Roshan. What do you think the emotional intelligence function is in effective nurse leadership, especially in that high-pressure clinical settings?
Thank you, Ma, for that question. I want to begin with a quote from our story. Anyone can be angry, that is easy. But to be angry with the right person, to the right degree, at the right time, for the right purpose, and in the right way, that is nice. This is a profound statement on emotional intelligence. So just think that while anger itself is simple, expressing it honestly and effectively requires wisdom, reason, and self-control. I'm sure we all agree that effective nurse leaders play a pivotal role in shaping the healthcare outcomes. Leadership is not just about strategy and decision-making. It is also about understanding the emotions of ourselves and the emotions of our team. Emotional intelligence is increasingly recognized as an essential competency for nursing leadership. So what is emotional intelligence? We've been hearing emotional intelligence all throughout the leadership sessions today. So emotional intelligence is a set of skills that help us to identify, understand, and manage our own emotions, as well as the emotions of others. It involves being aware of emotions, controlling them effectively, and using them to improve interpersonal interactions and decision-making. Developing emotional intelligence involves self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy, and strong social awareness and skills. Although each component is important, self-awareness and self-regulation is considered the most important of all. So what is self-awareness? Self-awareness is the ability to identify and understand your own emotions and their impact on others. Self-awareness gives us a sense of power. As we practice self-awareness, we gain confidence in our own strengths, which positively impacts how we handle our responsibilities and how we interact with others. Self-regulation is the ability to manage your emotional reactions, especially in stressful and challenging situations. Leaders can regulate their emotions, stay calm under pressure, make rational decisions, and create a stable and positive environment for your team. Practice mindfulness and breathing techniques help you to stay calm when emotions run high. In high-pressure clinical settings, emotional intelligence is instrumental for nurse leaders to manage stress, build a resilient team, boost staff morale, resolve conflicts, and make sound decisions. Leaders who focus on emotional intelligence create a more positive, productive, and resilient work environment. So start practicing emotional intelligence today. How it transforms your leadership style and your team's success. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that very detailed information. So as you saw and understood all these details, right, the minute details into this, speak about anger, especially with the compassion fatigue, the burnout, with all the current challenges that we go through. It is so much important that we focus on self-regulation and self-awareness, and I think it's a huge chunk that you can take away at this point from this conference. However, I do want to ask this question to you. Do you think EI can be taught?
Yes. It is a set of skill. So it can be learned, it can be developed with conscious efforts, practicing mindfulness, seeking feedback, learning the skill itself. It can be taught and learned.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That was wonderful. I hope that was helpful for many of you. As we were talking about the anger and all those things, managing ourselves, we are moving on to the next part, to the question to Dr. Amy Abraham. How can nurse leaders make places that are safe for everyone and encourage open communication?
Thank you for that question. So to me, the heart of nursing leadership is really about mastering that human connection like we talked about, and that starts with creating places where people feel safe, not just physically, but also emotionally. And I have kind of boiled it down to like maybe 5 things that are important. First is trust. That is like when nurses and staff know that they can speak up without a fear of backlash of information that they have shared. That opens the door for some meaningful, honest communication. So trust to me is very important. Second is transparency. Mastering the human connection means to lead with empathy and transparency. What that means is nurse leaders need to share not only the decisions that they're making, but why they made that decision. It's important to acknowledge that sometimes we as leaders also are not certain that we'll follow up. We don't know, but be transparent and be vulnerable yourself. Show that you're just like that. You don't have all the answers. This authenticity then invites others to do the same. The staff to do the same. The third I would say is to empower staff engagement. You need to invite the staff to come to you with solutions. So how do you invite them to come to solutions? Like if we had a bad event or something critical that happened, we certainly do it, and we probably do it in your facilities too. After a fall happens, there's safety huddles. If a critical event happens, there's debriefing. But you're inviting everybody in the team to kind of participate and give solutions. So empowering the staff to engage and have that discussion is very important. Being inclusive, that's like the 4th thing. We lead, as you all are leaders in this room, diverse team of people. You have nurses in your team that are brand new grads. You have nurses in your team that are seasoned nurses. You have people in your team that are interdisciplinary. You got to be inclusive to ensure that
I think most of us don't like conflicts because we want to escape, right? But we have to, as nurse leaders, we have to take that as a challenge. We definitely want to have conflicts so that we become stronger, how to resolve it. Just in this slide, you can see some of the highlights of the key strategies of a conflict resolution. So any conflicts happens in your area, you need to have an initial assessment, a thorough assessment of the situation, and then you have to have immediate intervention, some sort of intervention. Don't delay it too many days, then it will change into something in different conflict. So either, depending on the conflict, you have to have a simple initial interaction or some sort of planning made in order to have the next step. Then you do definitely follow up with that action plan, because that's what the nurses always complain, oh, nobody follows up with this. You just talk, but there's no follow-up. So always have to make sure there's a follow-up evaluation on that conflict to close the gap and close the loop, and continuous improvement. You definitely know if this has happened today, it might happen another day, similar conflict with a similar person. So you make sure there is some sort of process is placed in order to have a continuous improvement in that particular topic. Another topic that I want to discuss in the next page, I believe, or maybe before that, there's two different type of conflicts happens in the healthcare environment. One is interpersonal, and another one is systemic conflict. Interpersonal is always the unit level that you see between staff or a nurse or a doctor or any other healthcare personnel involved. So these are like interpersonal. So interpersonal that can be managed by listening, open dialogues, and making sure that we have a mediation in between the conflict. So that's how you resolve that type of conflict. But how is systemic conflict, right? Systemic conflict is very hard to resolve as a manager or as a frontline leader, because that's a bigger than you. Maybe it's a policy, it's a procedure, or it's a guideline which is hospital created, which is impacting this conflict. So you need to take further steps in order to resolve that. That means that leadership have to step back, look back at the structure and processes, any safety events or any process improvement. It is the system issue that we all know. It's not coming from the person issue. So coming back to Uma's question about the conflict resolution strategies, I think these are the great points that anybody can follow. Silent signals. You will see the signal right away. If you are a leader of a unit, my background is in procedural areas a lot for operation side. So I will see people are coming late, or even a tech is supposed to do something, is set up before the procedure, that doesn't happen. Or a tech and the nurse is not working well together, that is definitely obviously seen in that area. Or even sick calling in sick. If you don't have a teamwork, you will definitely see calling in sick, the number will go up. And people wanted to change your unit, they wanted to shift to transfer to another unit. So it's all like signals that you can definitely look into. And using data, what type of data you can look at? Most of the hospitals now have patient experience data that will tell us a lot about how the staff is behaving. So that if the patient experience data goes down, you know that we need to pay attention to what's happening in that team. Another quality data, all of those data are helpful to have some strategies. Then routing, as Annie was explaining to you about the proactive routing, intentional routing. You have to have a visibility. They need to know you are a leader who works along with them, and they can be openly talk to them, creating a safe space. They may be opening up to you when you go to them rather than they come to you. Be a good listener, and also making sure you have a hard conversation early enough. Wherever there should be a stop, it should be a stop. We should not be very soft. I know we talked about soft skills, but sometimes we don't want that softer skills. You need to have a harder conversations early. So leadership is not about presence, but not about perfection. So we can learn this stuff.
Thank you. Those are some valuable points. Like navigating conflict effectively is a key part of leadership, right?
question their own sanity because they do not know what they're dealing with. And that comes in backhanded compliments, a dig at you, a poke, a sarcasm, silent treatment, ostracizing or isolating individuals. And these kind of behaviors impact group morale. It impacts individuals' confidence. And they're so subtle that you don't know that these actually are intended to depict aggression. There's so many myriad reasons that hides the aggressive behavior. And it's so difficult to pinpoint. It is only over a trend of behavior that you start understanding that this is what the person's intentions are. And once the intentions become clear, then you can target the problem and try to resolve it. It's so rampant in nursing. That is why nursing has the title that we eat our young. Because passive aggression is hidden in the culture of nursing. And we have to target it one step at a time. The target can be possible only when leaders model the right behavior. The one person that we can change in this world is ourselves. It takes courage to be truly you. It takes courage, competence, and confidence to be true to yourself, to introspect who you are, to identify those flaws that are within you, accept your limitations, and put the sigh, the rolling of the eyes into an actual sentence that is assertive and that speaks for yourself. So it takes a lot of
think we each learn it as time goes on. For me personally, communication was a big one. I wasn't a good public speaker, but I had to work at it and practice at it. Similarly, I was told when I'm in meetings, you're required to be so quiet. So I have to purposely come prepared to meeting to speak up. So it's something you learn, but there's so many of them. You just have to, I think you're learning every day.
Thank you so much. That was definitely
Time's up.
meaningful. Yes, we're going to wrap the session up. I know it's a hot topic and we love to talk about it, never ends, right? But thank you so much for that interactive session. Much appreciated. Let's conclude the session by thanking our panelists. I'd like